Introducing the DRF Cash Grab app, the super easy, free-to-play sports predictor game from a name you know and trust, the Daily Racing Form. Use your sports knowledge to predict the winners, and you could score thousands of dollars in cash prizes. Pro football, college football, pro basketball, college basketball, hockey, soccer, boxing, baseball, and more. Compete against others for a spot on the monthly leaderboard. Download the DRF Cash Grab app and play today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 10 at Belmont at the Big A on Woodward Saturday is a very important Breeders' Cup prep race. This for the juvenile. It's the Grade 1 Champagne 2-year-olds going a one-turn mile. Let's take a look at this field. DRF Cash Grab from Daily Racing Form wants to boost your bankroll with free money. DRF Cash Grab is our sports predictor app that includes horse racing trivia, prediction games, and more. Download the DRF Cash Grab app in the App Store or Google Play Store. Start predicting, start winning. Mike the 3 verifying is your 9 to 5 morning line favorite. Beautiful pedigree from the first crop of Triple Crown winner Justify, a half-brother to the magnificent Midnight Bijou. But I can understand anyone that said Verify got an easy lead in his career debut on Travers Day, and he's going to have to go faster stretching out for the first time in the early portion of this race.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I liked his debut, but certainly this feels like it just almost has to be a little bit of a tougher test for him. I still liked his debut quite a bit. Both he and the number 4 Champions Dream, I thought they were both impressive debut winners up at Saratoga, but they're both giving away some experience to the rivals here.
Both horses showed speed in that race. Let's see the Timeform US pace projector, because there's also speed down to the inside. That's the New York bred Diamo Alferenze, stretching out off a pace-pressing win over Muddy going in the funny side. Top Recruit was up close to the pace in his win in the Ellis Park Juvenile. And Gulfport on the outside, that horse is not slow at all. So this pace could certainly be fast.
Be very interested to see how this pace plays out. Certainly, on Diamo Alferenze, he's got speed. He's down on the inside. I don't necessarily feel like he's a horse who has to be sending, though. We'll see how they decide to play that. Verifying that pace wasn't very fast on debut, but he just looks like a naturally talented horse. Dan, I thought the 4 Champions Dream looked pretty fast to me in his debut, and I'd be surprised if Gulfport wasn't right up there from the outside.
On Diamo Alferenze, both of his wins have come against New York breds, but he's far from a New York bred in pedigree. He is akin to Firenze Fire, who's a very, very talented horse in his own right. Let's watch on Diamo Alferenze's win last time out in the funny side. This going 6.5 at Saratoga. You see the track is very wet. This pace was very fast. They went 21-1 for the opening quarter mile. On Diamo Alferenze at odds on is just too good for this field. You see him drifting in a little bit on his left lead, but he wins with a solid 80 Beyer speed figure. Now he's got to do it going a mile against tougher horses.
Yeah, he does. I like basically all of his races. The one time that they did test him in that Grade 3 Sanford second time out, he wasn't quite good enough to get the job done. I thought he ran fine in there, though. As you mentioned, both wins versus fellow state breds. Also, both wins over wet tracks. Feels like he's going to probably wind up on a wet track again on Saturday. So it's something you don't have to worry about for him. His older, really talented brother, Firenze Fire, did all of his best work sprinting, but he won the Champagne as a 2-year-old.
Number 2 is Top Recruit. Now, none of these 6 2-year-olds have gone a mile. Top Recruit's come closest. He's gone 7/8 of a mile. He along in Champagne's Dream, Blazing Sevens, Gulfport. Let's watch Top Recruit's game performance at Ellis Park last time out. He was up close to the pace, and they went pretty quick. A 22-second opening quarter. He's down on the inside. And the horse on the outside, that's no joke. Curly Jack is going to finish second in this race because Top Recruit really wanted the win. Curly Jack would come back and pull off an upset in the Iroquois, a graded race at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, they left the rest of this field pretty far behind, too. This is a good performance from Top Recruit and a real step in the right direction, too. I thought his career debut was fine. I didn't like his second start very much, although he did get wired that day as a heavy favorite. He took obviously a pretty big step forward last time, Dan. I'll be interested to see if he can do it again. But it just feels like if you do believe in him, he's going to be a fair price in this race.
Irad Ortiz takes them out for Michael Maker, the horse that did beat him 2 starts back at Prairie Meadows. Tyler's Tribe is something like 4 for 4, and all of his wins have come in blowout fashion. The 3 is Verifying by Justify. The half to Midnight Bijou made his debut on Travers Day. I believe Jack Christopher made his debut on Travers Day in 2021. Of course, he came back to win the Champagne. Let's watch Verifying's win. And in this race, he showed good, easy speed under Joel Rosario. He took a two-ply pace challenge on the turn, and he turns back a more experienced horse, the gray track mate for Wayne Lucas in the stretch. They didn't go very fast in this race early, a half in 46. I like once Rosario asked him for run inside the eighth pole. Verifying gets away from these horses.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it too, Dan. He did have easy speed. It almost felt like Rosario wanted to give this horse a little bit of an education, because he certainly could have cleared off, but he did not do that. He did not take the rail, and he let that horse come up to his inside and sort of challenge him around the turn and into the stretch. And it was only when they got inside the eighth pole that Rosario finally, got his whip out, gave this horse one crack of it, and Verifying just moved away very impressively there. I get that it wasn't the flashiest debut, but I really liked it.
Danny Gargan unveiled a very nice 2-year-old in Champion's Dream towards the end of the Saratoga meet. He made his debut in this race going 7/8 of a mile, not an easy distance for a first-time starter, and the word was out. He was a heavy favorite in this race. He showed speed from the start. He set a legitimate pace for the distance, a half in under 46 seconds, and he stays strong in the stretch. This horse, I think, has a lot of upside potential. He's another well-bred Justify colt.
Agree with you. I really liked this debut. He was fast early, and it's not one of those situations, Dan, where he was just faster than those horses early and got clear. He actually had to work to clear that field into the far turn of that race, and then he did that and went on very impressively, I thought, to win that race. I also like that he did it over 7 furlongs. He's come back with 2 more really fast workouts since then. This is a dangerous horse.
Although the number 5 Blazing Sevens finished 9 lengths in arrears of Gulfport in the hopeful last time out, I think you can make the argument that he's a little bit dirtied up coming into this race for Chad Brown. He was a debut winner going 3/4 of a mile at Saratoga. Watching that race, he was on a hard chase. He was hard ridden. To me, it looked like a horse that wanted more distance. And last time out, I think he had the ready-made excuse of the wet track.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I could easily give him a pass for the hopeful. He didn't really do that much running in there, but it was a very wet track. Obviously, you have to concern yourself with that if you think that's a big excuse, because it's probably going to be a wet track again on Saturday based on the forecast. His debut, I'm sort of conflicted about, Dan. He got, I agree with everything you're saying, that maybe it was a little short for him. He did work really hard. He got an excellent figure for that race in 85. I just don't necessarily like the field that he beat. I get that the Bourbon Bash did come back to win out of there, but man, he was also in a stakes race after that, didn't run well, and everybody else in that field has basically come back to do nothing.
Completing the field for Steve Asmussen is the number 6, Gulfport. Jose Ortiz takes them out. He won his first 2 races like he was going to be a superstar by a combined 19 1/4 lengths. He's been green in his last 2. In the Saratoga Special, he kind of got uncomfortable, went in and among horses on the turn, checked a little bit, and then re-rallied for second. And here's the hopeful, a race in which, again, he was the favorite. He kind of almost bolts turning into the stretch, goes very, very wide. And then Forte, who snuck through along the insides just better than he in the final furlong over this wet track. He's still learning, but he does have talent.
He does have talent. He's got speed from the outside as well. And he's one of those horses who I feel like, his pedigree, I'm not convinced that he's going to actually get better with more distance, Dan, but I guess he should be able to get the 1 turn mile. I don't know what to do with him. I guess he ran fine in the hopeful, but blowing the turn there is obviously not a very good sign. And, at the end of the day, Dan, Forte is pretty good, but he was no match for that horse in the final furlong.
Top pick time for the Grade 1 Champagne. Winner of this race likely to become one of the favorites for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Verifying's going to have to work harder. He's going to have to stretch out, but I think he has a lot of intangibles in his favor. I just think he showed a lot of class in that debut. Maybe it wasn't the greatest field he beat. Some of those horses haven't exactly come back to distinguish themselves. He was just very visually impressive doing it.
That's what I liked about him too, and he just has that pedigree that to sort of suggests he's going to get better with time and distance. And he, obviously gets a little bit of both here. I was torn between him and the 4 Champion's Dream, because I thought his debut was very strong as well. I guess I'll wait and see how they bet it.
3, 4, 1, and 6 for Mike. 3, 6, 2, 1 for me. It's the Grade 1 Champagne, a huge card on Saturday at Belmont at the Big A. Best of luck.